You know what's interesting about this deal? We have been talking to this seller for 4 years. 4 years we've been talking to this seller. Now, is there a lesson in that right there? We've been
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Connor.
And wow, exciting things are going on. We have got right now 97 people registered for next week's live event. 97 people. And probably some more are going to get registered and come, right? I mean, today's Wednesday. The live event kicks off next Wednesday. So we'll talk more about the live event and what's going on with that before we wrap up today. Today we are doing Share and Solve. So what in the world is Share and Solve? Well, Share and Solve means we're going to talk about what you want to talk about. Share. What do you share? Well, you're going to share what kind of challenges have you got in your real estate investing business? Challenges. What's holding you back from raising private money? All that kind of good stuff. So the share part is coming from you. What do you all want to talk about? In other words, here's the question. If you could wave a magic wand, what would happen in your business to just make you sleep better at night, right? So we want your answers and your questions to what I just said in the chat. Put all that in the chat, and what you put in the chat is what we're going to talk about here on. And so that's the solve part. You share, the rest of us solve. So first of all, let's share, since we're doing a share and solve, let's share a win. Well, I'll go first. I always have something I'm excited about, right? So my team went and looked at a house, about 2 hours ago in Newport, North Carolina. And the square footage is 2,200 square feet. Nice area. Actually, right across the highway on the 9-foot road from the Food Lion Shopping Center in Newport. You know what's interesting about this deal? We have been talking to this seller for 4 years. 4 years we've been talking to this seller. Now, is there a lesson in that right there? We've been talking to this seller for 4 years. Yeah, I think it's called, quote unquote, the money is in the, look at Crystal, I can read her lips. The money's in the follow-up. And you know, if we didn't have a good CRM, customer relationship management software, this seller wouldn't have even been on follow-up, right? 4 years. Anyway, got 2,200 square feet of living space. I drove by it myself this past weekend because I saw the lead, or not the lead, but I saw that conversation had started again with the seller. I'm going, man, that house looks fantastic from the outside. And so I had Chris Latham, our realtor, give the after repaired value. So after repaired value conservatively on this 2,200 square foot house is going to be about $375 or so, $375,000. And you know what? And we haven't been able to get a price out of this seller for 4 years. But you see, time and circumstances always changes the story. And so they had something happen in their personal life, in the family, to where they got to go finally. They got to move. Anyway, $375,000 after repaired value. And you know what their asking price is? Before there's any negotiation, $170,000 asking price. So what's the catch? There's always a catch, right? Here's the catch. The team goes and looks at the house today. There's a bedroom that's been added on to this house. It was 1,800 square feet. Now a 400 square foot bedroom has been added on. unpermitted. Unpermitted bedroom added on. How did I know it's unpermitted? Because it's unpermitted because Chris Latham looked it up and he's still showing 1,800 square feet. Where's this bedroom coming from? So now the question is, what's the liability of an unpermitted bedroom? Well, I'll tell you the liability, at least here in North Carolina, Carteret County, and city of Newport. You buy a property from a seller, at least in this area, I do not inherit the sins of the seller, meaning if they added on a room not permitted, I buy a property, that's not my legal problem. But however, what could the liability be? I can tell you what the liability could be. If this is an unpermitted add-on, how in the world did they do this construction? And if I make it all beautiful, which it's not bad, I mean, it's probably going to be about a $50,000 renovation. It's all cosmetic. If I make this all beautiful and now a buyer comes along to buy it, and now the buyer's home inspector finds all these structural problems with this add-on, now guess what? Now I did inherit the problems of the seller. Maybe not, I didn't inherit a non-permitted legality, but I've inherited possibly a structural liability. So the lesson there, of course, is when you're going to do a renovation, you never do a renovation without getting a home inspection anyway. But I'm all excited about this deal. I mean, there's not many things that a check can't fix when it comes to renovating houses. Well, if the after repaired value is $375,000 and I can buy it for $175,000, maybe I can buy it for $150,000 or $125,000. It's free and clear. I know that. So I've already got a $200,000 spread that can probably fix this problem. So that's my win for today. More to be revealed as to when, more time goes by. So there's my win. Now, who else has got a win to share? If you have not raised any private money ever or yet, saying you're still looking to raise private money or you want to raise private money, then I'd love to have a little conversation with you. So that could be Judy and Wally, Greg, Thomas, Roger, Marvin, Carl, Paul, Lena, Danny, Daniel. So I need somebody to unmute and say, here I am, talk to me. Who has not raised private money? I want to have a conversation. Carl, you're already grinning from earphone to earphone right there. Carl, have you raised any private money?
Yes and no.
Wait a minute. That's like, are you pregnant or are you not pregnant? Right? No,
I've not done it your way. I've not done it your way.
Well, okay, well, let's drill down. How have you raised private money?
One was through an acquaintance in a networking group I'm in. Had a gentleman who was interested in lending. He did lend to me one time, but he didn't want to do that kind of lending anymore. So he doesn't lend anymore. And the other one was, again, sort of a networking situation. And she was interested in lending. And again, she was a one and done. So
Carl, what are you doing to these people after you borrow their money?
I know. In her case, she was like, she had been lending for a few years and she's moving down to Costa Rica. She said, you're lucky. You're my last one. I'm not doing this anymore. Boom. She took off.
All right. So Carl, you already said some important stuff. You already said some important things. One thing you said, Crystal's nodding her head like a bobblehead already. Crystal's tuned in, for goodness sakes. I mean, so a couple of things I heard you say that got my attention.
Mm.
The first thing I heard you say, by the way, thank you for agreeing to be voluntold. Okay.
Sure.
So
I'm retired Army. We're used to voluntold.
that's right. So one thing I heard you say is you said, yeah, sort of not. I've raised private money, but really not the way that you've done it, or
Right.
Jay has done it. And then you said, like both of them were through, networking situations. Oh, that
Hmm.
should get Chaffee and Crystal's and Banjo's attention right there through networking situations. So let me get it undressed here a little bit. So in what way or ways do you think you raised private money not the way that I would?
Well, again, in both of those cases, I had a deal and was looking for a lender.
Oh, okay. So you had a
See?
deal.
Yeah, and I was
Okay, so
looking
you
for a lender.
had a deal in the contract, and then you went to looking for the lender.
Right. And
Right.
see, those kind of deals, well, we've agreed on that before. That's the wrong way to do this thing. You want to generate those private lenders first so that when you do find a deal, you can execute quickly. And in both of those cases where I had the deal, I mean, I was like on a 30-day clock and sweating beans trying to find someone. And
What
that's the
what what were
worst
you
feeling.
sweating? What were you sweating?
Sweating beans.
Holy mercy. I ain't never seen a bean come out of a sweat pour. I'll tell you that.
I was bop, 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 bop,
Right.
that kind of sweating.
Well, you started answering my question, and I was gonna ask, how did that feel to have a deal under contract and not knowing where to get the private money, and you were under the gun for 30 days?
Worst feeling in the world, because you know it's a great deal, and if I knew if I had had a lender first, this would not have been an issue. I mean, obviously, I had a second a second course of action where I could have wholesaled the deals away, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to take them down myself, and reading your book and then going through the course and everything, I knew, and I have done all the some presentations and things like that. Just haven't got anybody to bite yet.
I got you.
So
So, so you said something else that really got my attention. And even though you had a deal under contract first, and then you're looking for the money, we identified the difference there.
yeah.
But you said these two private lenders came from networking events.
Hmm.
Well, that in and of itself, Crystal and then Chaffee speak to that. Banjo, you can jump in too if you want to. When Carl says, "Well, these private lenders came from networking events," well, Crystal and Chaffee and whoever else that wants to jump in, before y'all jump in and dive in on him making that statement and what comes to mind when he says that statement, Carl, these two private lenders, had they been private lenders before, or were they
Yes.
so they
Yes.
were already existing private lenders?
Hmm.
Okay. You now know that information, Crystal and Chaffee. I mean, you two and Banjo, our other Platinum Mastermind members, are amazing networkers. When Carl says that, what bubbles up to talk about, Crystal?
Well, the first thought is that's an amazing place to meet potential private lenders. So you can meet existing lenders like you did. You can also meet other people that may be interested in being investors. So I've met through networking plenty of investors. So my suspicion, if I was just going to go with first guesses, maybe that was like a RIA that you met these existing lenders.
Yes.
I'm a great guesser, or maybe I didn't. I would say, networking opportunities. I have 3 networking events that I'm going to this week alone. But networking opportunities are a great place to build a platform and a relationship to move people towards becoming private lenders that weren't even existing lenders before. So, one, getting connected with existing lenders. As you mentioned, you'd read Jay's book and worked through the course. You know that they're going to set the platform. So it's not your program. They're telling you
Right.
program. We want you going ahead and doing your networking, but teaching your program to people who aren't any already lenders. So you're actually on the right track, Carl. You just had it a little backwards. And so if you're not going in pitching deals, you are now sharing and educating people about your private lending program. So you just open it up, you do that introduction in a curious way, and then the next thing you know, people want to know more, and there you are on the path towards providing those educational tools and moving them forward so they can learn more about the private lending program and become your private lender.
Right. Yeah.
Chaffee, what bubbles up based on what you've heard Carl say so far?
Well, a few things, and 100% agree with what Crystal said in terms of it being a RIA, being a really good source. Sometimes, though, you got to be careful of going to a RIA and raising private money because they want to be your partner and not your private lender. So there needs to be a clear distinction that you're not looking for partners in a deal. Um, what I
Well,
like to
Chaffee, take a second and just make sure everybody knows what's the difference between a partner and a private lender.
So a private lender, following the program that you set out, Jay, a private lender has a clear-cut percentage that the return they're getting, they're protected by the property, they have a lien, but they're not a joint venture partner. They don't have an equity piece in the deal. They get a mortgage, the title, they get added on the title, a lien position on a promissory note, right? So they're not actually a partner in the deal, so they don't get a percentage of the profits of the deal, right? So when you have a partner, a lot of times when you go to a RIA, they say, hey, let's partner up. We'll split it 50-50. So, whether you make 10,000 or 50,000, they're going to get half of that, right? And so that's not the kind of people we're looking for. We're
Right.
looking for private lenders who are getting a fixed rate of return on their investment, right? And so that's the big difference between the two. And,
Yeah.
and,
I found that the RIAs you're meeting pros. So
yeah, well, sometimes you are meeting pros, sometimes you are meeting beginners, just like yourself, and so you do have to be careful. Sometimes you're meeting people who claim that they're pros, but they're really just seminar junkies and have been to 1,000 seminars and know everything, have never done a deal, right?
mm,
So
yeah.
you got to be careful about those people as well. Um, but again, Rio is a great place to get if you're wanting to learn, if you're wanting to meet like-minded people, surround yourself with that, and you also want to network at other places. Now, here's what kind of bubbled up in my mind when you were talking, Carl, is that you had a deal that you had to close in 30 days. And so you had this sense of urgency, right? You had to get out there and you had to talk to people. And you had
Mhm.
to, in your instance, you had to share the deal and talk about that and all that kind of stuff. Only what happens sometimes is that when you don't have a deal, sometimes people forget about that sense of urgency, right? And so they don't
Right.
go out and you don't talk to as many people. And you say, oh, this private lending thing isn't working. When in reality, who wasn't working? Right? It's not the private lending thing. It was you because you didn't have the sense of urgency because you don't have a deal. And so, that's what is so great about the program Jace put together and the mentorship. We have a timeline for everything, and we tell you, do this, do that by this date. And so you get out there and you have the sense of urgency in order to meet those timelines, even if you don't have a deal, because you are focused on raising private money and a certain amount by a certain period of time, which now you have this private money, and I got to tell you, talk about lighting a fire on you when you got $100,000 in private money sitting in your pocket and no deal. What are you going to do? Right? You're going to run
Mm,
out there and find a deal, right? The
right.
beautiful thing is that now you have the ability to close on that deal because you have that private money. You can make all cash offers, close quickly, and you get better deals versus, if you don't have the money, you don't have that confidence, you're not making all cash offers that can close in 7 or 14 days, right? And so the deals might not be as good. And so again, following the way that Jay teaches it, raising the private money first is so important. And you still want that excitement. You still want that urgency. You still want to go out there and share your energy with people versus just, oh, hey, my name's Carl. I'm a private money teacher. Let me teach you all about this private money. And it's just like, where's that urgency? Where's that energy? Where's that excitement, right? And so if you
Yep.
can maintain that level of excitement and go out there, I want to tell you about this private money thing. It's so great. It's going to help you so much. And I know Banjo, you're phenomenal about doing that. As a matter of fact, Banjo, you go up to the same person like 10 times and tell them the same thing, and You're like, I don't know if I told you this before, but I'm really excited about this.
Yeah,
Isn't that
yeah,
right, Banjo?
yeah. At some point, you can't even get 3 words out there. Like, yes, you've told me. Private lending, not interested at this time. It's like, all right, just checking.
Only it's that level of excitement, right? It's that level of urgency that attracts people. It draws people into you, and then they want to work with you because you're so excited about it. You're so energized about it. And so again, having a deal, and going out there and kind of forcing yourself is, it creates that excitement. At the same time, you don't need a deal to create that excitement. You can create it yourself and just go out there and do it. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did do the list of people and started contacting them and, had either coffee with them or met them in the office or did that kind of thing. And that was like 33 people, something like that. I forget the length of the list. I'd have to pull it up, have them on a spreadsheet. But, I can always add more. But, I have done that part of it. Just none of the folks were in that space or had the money and things of that nature. So I'm continuing to work it.
Yeah.
But
Well, Carl, we're going to dive into that part of this conversation in a second. But before we do, Banjo, did you hear anything Carl said that bubbled up in your mind to comment on?
Well, the main thing I can think about, Carl, is if you're anything like me, especially before I met Jay and his team and got involved with the mastermind and everything, which you're doing better than I did because I bought the private money system too, and it just stayed in the box for about 8 months. But I joined up with them, and they were teaching me a little bit about networking and everything. And I'd have to imagine, especially since you had a deal that was getting ready to close in 30 days, the conversation sounded like I have a deal, I need funding type start to the conversation. Whereas if you would get into the habit of just constantly networking all the time, and instead of, even when I have a deal that I desperately need funding for, you'll never, ever, ever catch me saying anything like I need funding or I have a deal coming up you might be interested in or anything like that. I've trained myself to always just present the opportunity. I'll look for something. I'm pretty sure we can get your money working pretty fast is like the language I use, even if I got a hot deal that I really need this funding for. And that's my 2 cents, I guess.
Well, that's an important point, Banjo, because what you're doing is even when you've got a deal that you need funding for, and you're talking with maybe a new private lender, y'all have heard me say it 1,000 times, separating those conversation of the opportunity and then having a deal to fund. Never in the same conversation, just like you said, Banjo. So Carl, this is the fun part. All right. So
Okay.
Chaffee and Crystal, Banjo, whoever else is tuning in and listening, everybody's listening in. So here's my question. So you've done the present. So you made your list. I think you said you got 33 people on your list of the people you've already got a connection with. And so you got your list. And then you have visited with some people, or you've made the presentation, or you've talked to them about the opportunity, but really nothing has come from that yet. So here's the open-ended question first. Carl, by the way, thank you for participating in this because your engagement, everybody's learning from, right?
Okay.
So what would you say? Best guess? Well, first, no, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I'm just going to let you answer the question. What would you say are the reasons why you haven't raised private money yet from the activities that you have done so far?
I would say it had to be my delivery. It had to be, I don't think I sounded desperate because even on the 2 that I did fund, I maintained frame when I did talk to people. And I did call it an opportunity and those things like Banjo was saying. I just think that, number 1, maybe these were the wrong folks. But number 2, I can also kind of hit myself over the head, didn't do a lot of follow-up. I have followed up with a few of them, but not all of them. but primarily it was probably how I presented myself. Maybe there was something wrong in that, or and some of them just didn't have money to lend. It sounds good, but I don't really have any funds like that. Not even money that they could put in a self-directed IRA or anything like that. So,
so Crystal, before I get you, Chaffee, Banjo, whoever wants to comment on what Carl just said, let me ask another question. Let me ask two more questions. My next question is, how many people did you actually sit down with or present to? By the way, were all of your conversations one-on-one, or was any of it in a group?
one-on-ones. All of them were one-on-ones, and
All of
I
them.
didn't talk to all. I called most of them, but I mean, I think I didn't talk to 8 of the folks. So 25 conversations. 25
So
conversations.
you had 25 one-on-one
One-on-ones.
one-on-one
Yes.
conversations. All right, that's important to know.
Scott.
All right, Chaffee, I'm going to give you the final word. My final word is I'm so excited about seeing all of you that can make it at the Private Money Conference 1 week from today and Thursday and Friday next week. It's going to be an amazing event. Chaffee, you wrap us up.
And so, as I always say, thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of your journey. Thank you for allowing us to help you in this journey. Be excited about your journey. Be excited about what's possible for you in your life. And the way to achieve your dreams, the way to start living the life that you want, is to go out there and take action. So please take the information that you've learned on this call and every call that you've been on, all the replays, and go out there and do something. Make a difference in the lives of other people and in your lives as well. So again, thank you. And I will see some of you next week at the live event. And for the other people, we'll see you back on the call again in a couple weeks or whenever that is. So bye for now, everyone.
Bye for now.
Now.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jconner.com/moneyguide. That's jconner.com/moneyguide and download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jconner.com/moneyguide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.